Good morning, Catalina Fiddles Church and friends. Pastor John Stone here with our Tuesday morning devotion. And this coming Sunday, as we look towards our time of worship, we're going to talk about the conversation Jesus had with Mary Magdalene after he was resurrected. And it says, now Mary stood outside the tomb crying. As she wept, she bent over to look into the tomb and saw two angels in white seated where Jesus' body had been, one at the head and the other at the foot. They asked her, "Women, why are you crying?" "They've taken my Lord away," she said, "and I don't know where they've put him." At this, she turned around and saw Jesus standing there, but she did not realize that it was Jesus. He asked her, "Woman, why are you crying? Who is it that you're looking for?" Thinking he was the gardener, she said, "Sir, if you have carried him away, tell me where you have put him, and I will get him." And Jesus said to her, "Mary." She turned toward him and cried out in Aramaic, "Rabboni," which means teacher. Jesus said, "Do not hold on to me, for I have not yet ascended to my Father. Go instead to my brothers and tell them, I am ascending to my Father and your Father, to my God and your God." Mary Magdalene went to the disciples with the news, "I have seen the Lord." And she told them they had seen these, that he had said these things to her. So one of the things the passage speaks about is right before it said they did not know that Jesus had to be resurrected from the dead. So what's interesting about Mary Magdalene is she's a woman who had experienced the power of Jesus. We're told earlier in the Gospels that she was one of many women who followed Jesus the entirety of his ministry, and she'd begun to follow him when he had driven 7 demons out of her. She's probably a woman who had some wealth, because we're also told that she supported him financially and otherwise. So she had really experienced Jesus' power, and she had heard most of his teaching. I'm sure there were times he went off with just the disciples, but she was an insider. And it's a unique thing that Jesus, as a teacher, would allow a woman to follow him and be on his inside, but she was. And she loved him dearly. We're told that she's also one of the women that remained with him throughout his crucifixion, that when the disciples had deserted him, and finally, ultimately, Peter deserted him on the night of Jesus being tried and crucified, that Mary Magdalene and other women remained, and they were there at the cross. So they loved him dearly, but they did not understand why he had come. And that's an interesting place to be, to have experienced the power of Jesus and to love Jesus dearly. She's weeping for his body. And she's also been under the teaching that he will resurrect himself. He said it over and over. She's been in the inner circle, but that she does not understand that he had to be resurrected from the dead. And I think it is a warning to us that we can understand Jesus. Now, let me say this a different way. We can claim to understand Jesus because we've seen his power, or we've experienced his power in our own life, or in the lives of others, or in a community of Christians. We've seen the power of Jesus to transform, to liberate, to change. And we're beginning to love Jesus dearly, but we don't know why he came. And he came to be crucified and resurrected. That's why the passage, and this we started reading in John 20 and verse 11, but it says in John 20 and verse 9, they still did not understand from Scripture that Jesus had to be raised from the dead. And so I think it's important that if we're experiencing the power of God, the power of Jesus, and that we're also falling in love with him, that we understand why he came, and that was to be resurrected. And that is to invite us into an entirely new life. I think what's interesting about Mary, again, she's as insider as they get, and she's as faithful as they get, and she wanted to go and care for his dead body. She did not understand, having had 7 demons driven out of her, that he was calling her to an entirely new life. That he did not want her simply to remain a Jewish woman committed to him, but he wanted her to join the church and then believe the gospel and lay down her life for him the way he laid down his life for her. That Jesus was really asking her for in a massive exchange. Give me your whole life. Don't give me a part of your life. Don't give me the majority of your life. Give me your whole life, because I have died and been resurrected, and I'd like you to die and be resurrected too. So I look forward to this Sunday. I look forward to being with you this Sunday, for those of you who can be there in person or who are streaming, and to explore more of this conversation with Mary, where she has to realize all that Jesus wants to do. Have a great week, and we'll see you soon.